Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the 3,000 subscriber special episode of the Canadian Bowler Podcast. I'm here today with Michael Patulli on this side and Daryl Fitzgerald on this side, and I'm Lucas Caldwell. What the heck's going on, boys?
I'm just trying to stay alive. I'm sick as anything, so I'll make it through the show. We'll be good.
Daryl is as ill as Michael's draw weight. It's pretty good.
You can probably tell by Daryl when he's wearing his glasses, it's typically a precursor that he's not feeling very well. So we took a little bit of a longer break than we usually do between shows because Daryl was pretty under the weather for the last week and a bit here. So we figured we'd postpone until he's at least kind of human.
Yeah, and I haven't been on the show too much, so I've basically been banned from hosting on my own. So we had to make sure that Daryl was here. But anyways, before we get into any of our topics or roast Daryl anymore, don't forget, guys, everything's down below. You got to remember to subscribe. We got to get to like 4 billion? 4 billion subscribers.
Something like that.
No, but every subscriber helps a lot down below that red button. If you haven't clicked it already, make sure you hit that like, follow, subscribe on all social media platforms. Today's podcast is recorded and posted on all major podcast platforms, including Apple Podcasts and Spotify. They usually go up within about a week after the show, and we're posted directly on YouTube right after the show. As well, as you can see, my two lovely co-hosts have a little bit of the Canadian Bowler merch on today. If you guys want to look like us, it's all available in the description down below. And again, we appreciate all sales. Everything goes back into the podcast so we can make this thing as legit as we can. All right, Mikey, start us off. You pick the first one.
Oh, I get to pick which one's
you get
first.
To pick which one.
My goodness, you're leaving me too much control here, Luke. We might as well start with the World Bowls Tour results. So obviously we delayed about a week there, so the event's been done a couple of weeks now, but we definitely do need to still cover what ended up happening there. So during our last show, it was about halfway done, and I think the finals had been for the pairs. We're sort of just the next day, so we could start with that. The men's pairs, the winners ended up being Greg Harlow and Nick Brett. So they ended up winning. I think it was their third time together. So they've played very well, been a long-standing team at the World Bowls Tour. So it's good to see them win again. They had a good match against Stempney and Greenslade. So that was a good game that they had there. The mixed pairs. We also had Stuart Anderson and Sherry Ann Glenn beating Paul Foster and Allison Marion. So that was, again, two very good matches. I watched them both live. I enjoyed that whole event. I was pretty much spending most of my days or a good portion of my days watching the different games. So that was fun to do. If you want to check out any of those matches, they are still on the World Bowls Tour's YouTube channel. We did create a couple clips, sort of highlight reels of a couple of the matches as well that we really enjoyed. So definitely check those out if you do have some time. For getting to the women's singles, Catherine Rednall ended up beating Cherry Ann Glenn as well. So that was sort of the big news on the ladies' side was Cherry Ann Glenn was I think her first time back, they were saying since 2003 or something like that. Like she hadn't been played in the.
Oh wow!
She played well.
She played great. Like to lose in the women's singles final and like a razor. Like at that game, I think was literally came down to essentially the last bowl where Catherine made a shot type of thing, and then she could have drawn in to sort of save it, but just barely missed the shot. So it was a really good match between the two of them, and then to obviously win the mixed pairs, you're obviously playing at a pretty elite level. So it's kind of interesting to see someone who essentially hasn't been around for a very long time come back and then obviously give the best in the world runs for their money and being one of the best in the world.
Catherine, is that 6?
6 world titles?
I'll do a fact check here, but I think you might be on the right line there because that does sound about right to me. That it might. I'm
pretty sure she has the record now, like clear of anybody else, and that's impressive. She's phenomenal.
Yeah, so it was good to see her be successful there, and like she's one. I think she was the only lady that ended up playing in the open singles.
Mm-hmm.
Like
that's true.
And And she ended up having a really close match against Wayne Wilgris, and she ended up not coming on the top on that one, obviously. But she's obviously a very high quality player, and it was great to see her get the results there.
We're talking about people coming back to the game. Obviously, a lot of us and a lot of people across the world have actually been coming back into the game past like post pandemic, and things are starting to happen again. Who do you guys think's the best player in the world right now?
Indoor or outdoor?
Pick your poison.
If I was going to say both surfaces, I'd probably say Alex Marshall. If you're going to choose somebody that could go indoor, outdoor, he's probably one of the best. Although, I mean, I'll admit, I think he's starting to slide a little bit as far as his abilities. Like, he's not at his peak anymore. He's still phenomenal. I mean, that's a given, but he'd be one of my picks for one of the top. But Nick Brett's phenomenal on the indoor, day in, day out, and he proved himself on the outdoor too at the Commonwealth Games. He's got some merchandise that he brought back.
A little bit of hardware.
Yeah, so really good. And then, I mean, different hemispheres bring different things to the table. Like, for my money, Aaron Sheriff is probably the top in the Australian side. And even though he wasn't at the Commonwealth Games, I think he would be my first pick if I was going to pick somebody over there.
Yeah, no, you're barking up the right tree there, Daryl. I did a fact check there, and that was Catherine's 6th World Indoors Bowl Championship. 5 of them are singles, 1 is mixed pairs. So you're right on the money there. So very impressive with that. If we're talking ladies indoor, I'm probably going to throw her as my top lady. From what I saw from Cherry Ann Glenn, though, come next year, someone who's fresh, not playing as much, could definitely see her being one of the elite players or one of the top players in the world even fairly soon now. Luke's just leaving the podcast. Good times. But then if you're talking, I agree with what you're sort of saying there. It really depends on what sort of surface. And if we're talking all around, honestly, I'd probably say Aaron Sheriff's my top male player in any surface, because one of the things we're going to be talking about later on in the show here is the World Indoor Championships is coming up, and he's representing Australia there. So he's obviously proven that he's one of the better players in Australia for indoor play. And I'm going to bet that when we maybe do those results I think 3 months from now, when that tournament will be over, we'll probably imagine his name and one of those players doing pretty well. So he'd be my pick for the top player in the world. Since you missed it, Luke, Aaron Sheriff.
Oh yeah, I heard.
Okay.
Sorry, I just wanted it to feel like home for you guys, so I figured I'd step out for a second.
Is the other name for finishing up the results that I hadn't got to there for WBT in the final, Jamie Walker ended up beating
Jason Banks.
Jason Banks. I was gonna say I was searching for the first name, Jason Banks. That was a fairly good match between them. Jamie Walker, you could probably throw in that mix for top player indoor outdoor, because again, sort of what Daryl was touching on, had some good results at the Commonwealth Games, and then goes on and wins the World Indoor Singles there. So
yeah,
that was, I think, one of the first times we're going to see at the World Indoor that 2 qualifiers ended up playing in the final. So that was really quite incredible to see 2 guys that qualified from outside of that top 16 slogged their way through all the way through the tournament, just kept upsetting guys and ended up playing each other in the final. So that was really cool. I enjoyed watching their semifinals. Like, both semifinals were terrific on both sides. Specifically, like the Jason Banks versus Mark Dawes game is absolutely incredible. The 2 of them were just back and forth, incredible draw weight. Like, I think one of the clips we posted, it's Mark ends up drawing the jack cold off of a bowl within like couple inches of the jack type of thing. And then the next bowl was that really crazy where he squeezed the jack kind of on a rebound to get the one. But it's just the two of them played incredible. Like if you're looking for a game to go rewatch, I'd say that semifinal is awesome, but also that other semifinal with Jamie in it. He plays incredible in that semifinal, but there's a couple really great shots in that one as well.
Yeah.
So
I just wanted to say for a lot of those things, I didn't get to watch all the event, but Mike watched a ton of it, and he kept sending me clips, and we put out a bunch of Facebook Reels, YouTube Shorts, and TikToks. If you're on TikTok, really hones in on our demographic, but and it has a lot of those highlights in it, just so you can see exactly what Mike is talking about, because it's incredible.
TikTok's 65 plus, right?
Yeah, no, TikTok's definitely the younger crowd, but we got to spread our love around any platform that does have the videos.
True.
So yeah, that's our results from the World Bowls Tour. It's always sad when it's done, because I think now we got quite a long period between we're going to see more activity out of them. I know they do have other events that they're planning, and they're going to probably sporadically play over the year here, but it's going to be a little bit of a while before we'll see any more info from them, because that's the end of their schedule for this year.
I just want to say for that event, I watch a lot of it anyway, usually, but I was actually more intrigued and more engrossed in what was going on, because the fact that the qualifiers were doing so well, like, you know, Cody and Dylan beating a really high team, even though they were unranked as well, but a really, really quality team and moving forward. And then seeing those qualifiers go through, it made it more exciting for me, and I hope we see a lot more of that, because no offense to the top 16, but I like to see that shake up.
Yeah, does that open up the possibility, or like, I guess it's a conversation we could have right here between the three of us? What do you guys think about that top 16 format where they're automatically getting in, but then this year those two guys are like the ones we're obviously pinpointing, but then there also was a third player. The name's escaping me at this point, but he got through to, I think, the quarterfinals, and he was also a qualifier. And then I think there was also a player in the first round who got through the first round and was a qualifier. So you're seeing a lot of guys beating these top 16 players going through, two of them specifically to the final, another guy to the quarterfinals. So you're seeing, obviously, that there's a very good contingent of players who don't play in this event or don't get the opportunity to play in the event. So what would you guys think? Is the top 16 getting the job done for how they're running WBT?
The only issue with the top 16 I have is essentially what I was talking to you guys about before the show. And it's like, is there any other events that you get points at, or is it just like the few events, like the top 16? I mean, it just seems like a kind of like a vague thing to throw out there. Like, yeah, these people do consistently once or twice a year. But other people don't even really have the opportunity to play there. So I don't really understand how it works personally. So no, I don't think it's really a great format.
Yeah, it's not my favorite. I know we had Jason Parkinson on one of our interviews to talk about it, and I mean, they do I think cycle out the points every 3 years. Did he say? You kind of drop what they did. So if they had an amazing year 3 years ago, that keeps them in there. If they haven't done so great since, they eventually will drop off. But having that guarantee in there kind of keeps you afloat, right?
Yeah.
I prefer the play your way in. A lot of those guys earned their way in the same way that those qualifiers did, right? They did the hard yards and grinded their way to eventually get in there. Probably lost a bunch of times too. But yeah, I just don't like that kind of you're in, and as long as you play okay and you make it through a couple rounds, you're fine for next year.
Yeah, I think it definitely lets the players almost rest on their laurels a bit, where they're kind of in there so they can just make an appearance and sort of robot through their game. And if they lose, there's like, oh, whatever type of thing. So I think there should be some sort of a shakeup. I'm not sure what exactly a shakeup would look like, where they either have to maybe play their way in or They maybe have a slight expansion on which events allow you to get points, because like I hadn't like Jason Banks, I hadn't heard of who he was before, and then I look him up on Google, and I think he's like a multi-time Scotland indoor champion.
Yes,
So
yeah.
if you kind of think about that prowess, you're obviously a very high quality player if you're winning things like that. And so then it kind of begs the question, what does a person have to do to get themselves to that top 16, other than like them obviously getting to the finals? I'm sure maybe next year, when those new rankings come up, we're probably going to see both of them in their top 16, I'd hope. But I would hope there's more things that can be done, because if I had the results still open in front of me, the other guy who made it to the quarterfinals that I was talking about, he gets to the quarterfinals, wins 3 matches. We're probably not going to see him in the top 16, even though he played great there, and probably going to have to do the qualifier route, everything again. So,
Yeah, I forget how the points are distributed. I'm pretty sure that Banks and Walker will be in, based on their high ranking, but and some of the bottom ones, they obviously won't be shooting up the ladder, but they'll be in there somewhere, I believe. I just find it, especially for like where Canadians, we deal with the Canadian PBA system to get the qualifier. I find it, it makes it such a really hard sell. Like there's the passionate people like Cody and Dylan. Cody plays in everything, and he wants to go and he wants to play, and he can play at that level. He proved it over there that he could play, decent bowls on indoor. But for those that aren't sure, and for those that are kind of sitting on the fence and say, should I, shouldn't I? If they look at that system and say, like, what is it going to take for me to actually get good, be over there and play consistently for a place like Canada, or say the United States, or those that don't have indoor facilities? That's a tough sell, because you don't have the reps to compete with those guys.
Yeah, and it's like, I correct me if I'm wrong, but it's 100%, like for us, it's 100% self-funded, correct?
I think you get a little bit from the entries, which isn't much, but mostly you're putting your money forward to go and play.
I guess my biggest question about the PBA and the WBT, why do you think they get like the viewership they get? Like if you click on their Facebook lives when the live events run, or their YouTube, there's always tons of people watching, like thousands. Like, I could be wrong, but I think there's like thousands, if not a little bit less, a little bit more. I think they have arguably the most professional setup for it. But at the end of the day, we're still Bulls. Why do you think they get such more viewership than everything else?
It's a huge UK market. And I'll say it. It's the format's a little bit more progressive than, say, a traditional format. And like you said, the quality, I'll compare it to anything across the board, even like Commonwealth Games and all that kind of stuff. The quality of the broadcast and the commentary is actually pretty good.
Yeah, the quality of the broadcast, like the commentators are good, but just the broadcast alone is borderline world class.
Yeah.
Like you could call it world class. Like it's definitely up there for the quality. Like BBC comes in there and they do a great job, because obviously when you're a name like BBC, you have pretty substantial government funding from like the English government, so that's a pretty big network to be able to have that information. But when they're not involved, when it's BBC, like Jason Parkinson we had on the show, along with the crew that they have for WBT, they do a great job of commentating as well. So I think they get big viewership because realistically it's great quality, it stands out, and when there's X thousand people watching it, that video kind of does, I think, in the algorithm for YouTube, pop up on a lot of people's pages, especially if they're interested in sports, because it's probably, when you have that many thousand people watching, it definitely draws your eye to be like, oh, what is this actually? And it definitely is a thing that I think brings people's eyes to it.
I think the quality and just having commentators on it all the time, I think it drastically improves like your retention, because obviously people click on our videos and leave right away. Like we see it on our live videos all the time. The numbers go up and down and kind of fluctuate. I think the super high quality is what kind of makes people stay there a little bit longer and maybe actually like watch it and figure it out, as opposed to like a lot of the stuff we see is just popped up on a phone with some guy walking around, and it's really like it's content and it's good enough for a lot of people, but it's not good enough for somebody who doesn't really know what they're watching.
I'll throw this out there. The one thing that I love is the fact that all the players, the officials, everybody know it's being televised, know where the cameras are, and don't park their ass in front of it so I can't see the head.
Yeah.
Like trying to watch a Forest game on Commonwealth Games or anywhere else. I'll tell you, when I was in England with Commonwealth Games and they were on the TV rink, there was people on all sides constantly telling people to move because they forget and they stand in the middle and it's just an ass shot, right? They're standing in front of the camera and it's like, get out of the way so people can see. It's
Do they not have like big giant boom cameras to kind of avoid that at Commonwealth Games?
well, they did for the overtop, but when you want to see sideways and stuff like that, there's cameras on the side and there's cameras at the back, so you can see different angles, and people would just park themselves in front of it and just be completely oblivious. If you want a high quality product, people have to stand in the right place. It's a small rink for, let's say it's a Forest game, 8 people to crowd their bodies around there. So you have to be aware of that if you really want the visibility of it to be good.
100%.
Good conversation. And I enjoyed this one here. Maybe we'll have to continue it at a different point. Maybe when Canadian Bowler gets out there and starts our new streaming platforms that we're going to have out there. And
so BBC or TSN, Barstool, who else is out there that we could get a sponsorship from so we can have some cool cameras too? Cam LaFrenz is in the chat. He could sponsor us.
He's always in the way. That's true.
Yeah. He's about as thick as paper though, so you hardly notice.
Turn him sideways and everything's good.
Yeah.
Anyways, good conversation, guys. I guess we can move on. We have a few other topics to get here today. We sort of did talk about this one already, and I figured it's just a good segue to jump into it. So we talked about Aaron Sheriff being one of our players that we ranked as top player indoor or outdoor. His compadre from Australia, Kelsey Cottrell, could probably be named one of those ladies too.
I'd argue that.
Definitely. Those two are the Australian representatives at the World Indoor Lawn Bowling Championship that's coming, I believe it's in May. So Daryl's got a photo up there. So they just released the player list this week. So our representatives who just won the Canadian Indoor, a few months back there, Jerome Kirby and Linda Ng, they're going to that. And then it's got the full list of all the countries in there. Just going off the top of my head, I think it was like 25 countries or something like that. So again, it's a pretty impressive field. It's nice to see that there's not your atypical bowls nations sending people out to get those reps and sort of test their mettle against the top players. So I'll be excited to see the results as they come in from Australia there in a couple months.
And to be honest, the most shocking thing for me, and I obviously Aaron Sheriff's great, but I'm shocked to not see Jeremy Henry on that list.
He used to play in the World Cup.
Oh, this is different?
This is what the World Cup became. So they disassembled the World Cup, made it into this event, and they split it between the UK and Australia. So alternating running of it, they go Northern Hemisphere, Southern Hemisphere. So it's a little more fair than it's just like for the longest time it was just always Warilla. Like no
just
question.
The Jeremy Henry show.
That Jeremy Henry show, basically, yeah.
Jeremy Henry, Joe Edwards show.
The cool thing is they do have returning champs in this. So Michael Stepney and Julie Forrest. Yeah, Julie Forrest will be there, which is kind of cool. And I'm always intrigued. I love the bowler. He's from Wales, Danny Salmon. I think he's phenomenal. I watched him in the juniors as well.
Very good. He crushed me in the juniors.
Yeah. 2-time Commonwealth Games pairs gold medalist. Phenomenal.
Yeah, he's quite good.
Yeah, there's quite a few good names in that field coming up there. So if you are at all curious, definitely check out World Bowls. As we talked about on the last podcast, their new kind of revamped website with their super awesome new logo and everything like that, you can definitely check out the website. I'll give them kudos. They are promoting stuff better now, and they're making it a lot more visible.
100%.
So definitely check out the site. It has good info. It has information about the tournament, and then always nice to see the full names a couple months in advance so that you sort of know what to expect when the results do start coming in.
Yeah, I'll second that, Mike. I mean, World Bowls, just in the short time that they've made a few changes, I mean, they've been good quality of life changes as far as getting information out there, posting stuff. So I'm excited to see what comes after that. So especially with this event, see how that starts rolling things forward in terms of all the world events coming forward.
Yeah, I mean, I know Michael isn't the greatest fan of the logo, but it is nice to see them change things, because it's literally been basically a dead wasteland since I've joined Bowls, is what the World Bowls website has been, with minimal updates or information at all. So it is nice to see them actually putting a little bit of effort into it.
No, hopefully it's just an upwards trajectory as we go along here. So moving on, the last show, I'll kind of let Daryl take this one over, but the last show we had talked about short mat bowling. There was Canadian short mat championships. We covered the results there. And we actually did have Canadian Short Mat Bowls Association reach out to us. So we do have some information. Looks like they've got a world championship coming up. I'll let Daryl take over.
I talked to David Burrows, who heads up that organization. I asked him just a couple questions, like who's going. They obviously posted who's going, and I also asked him just, well, how do you do the selection? How do the people get chosen to go? So here's a list of all the people that are going. And I will just read what Dave sent to me, so I don't put words in his mouth and mess up what he said. So he says, the main focus we have for Canadian Short Mat Association is to grow the sport across Canada, encourage various clubs to foster friendly competitions amongst each other, promote the CSMBA national championships, improve players who wish to participate in those championships, and improve the CSMBA national team each time they participate. So they just want to see people getting better and better across the sport. Presently, our own national championships have been growing in both numbers and quality, and we're proud to have a full team of 20 players traveling to Aberdeen, Scotland, March 17th to 19th, 2023. So the full team is Travis Anderson, Canada Team A, singles, Travis Anderson, pairs, Penny Henneke and Marion Burton as the skip. Triples, Louisa Arthur, John McKenzie, and Bill Arthur, who's also in the chat, as skip. The forwards will be Dave Burrows, Pat Binney, Fred Gundel, and Rusty Ruggles as skip. Team B, Sophie Burrows will be singles. Pairs, Debbie Farrell and Blaine Phillips as skip. Triples, Brent Bailey, Alan Bell, and Terry Bradshaw as skip. And the fours is Mary Pace, Nan Hendren, Kathy Shirley, and Dave Shirley as skip. So the reason I had asked is a lot of those weren't the gold medalists that we saw at the national championship. So I was just curious how things got chosen. But he says, because the world championships include around 15 countries, each of our team members are allowed to play in just one event, with only the top four making the medal rounds. Ireland is the most dominant. England also has around 2,500 members. To make the national team, a player must enter the CSMBA Nationals and perform well enough to be within the top 20 players overall of those who are able to travel to Scotland. The first qualification is to win the gold or silver in any of our four events. Secondly would be to win a bronze medal and perhaps other fine results in another event. We also look at past rankings, past results. Although short mat bowlers around the world are roughly the same age as outdoor bowlers, the world-class short mat players are generally younger than the world outdoor bowlers. In fact, the world championship in the pairs in Sweden in 2018 was only 15 years old.
Wow.
So yeah, he said our silver medalists are all traveling to Aberdeen, but our gold medal winners, Martin Foxhall, David Llewellyn, Fred Wallbank, and Steve McCarron, have yet to cross over to the other side. So it's basically you win and you perform well, you get looked at, and I guess I'm assuming that the gold medalists did not want to do the traveling and go over and play, so they have the silver medalists going for the most part. I also have just a picture of the shirt. So there's the front of the shirt that they'll be wearing, and there is the back.
Very nice.
Very snazzy.
So, like next year, does the Canadian bowler go in and just take over the short mat trips and just start crushing? Or I will. I actually do have a legitimate thing to say. I did think it's kind of interesting, and I mean, again, quote me if I'm wrong, but all of the disciplines are mixed.
It looks like that, yeah.
Which is, I mean, I think that's great because, like I've said in the past, I think bowls is one of the, I don't know, people might take this the wrong way, but I think it's one of the only sports out there that you can play mixed at every level, or men versus women. I don't really think there's a massive discrepancy between them, personally. So it's just neat to see them at a world championship level playing mixed.
Yep. No, you said it well there, Luke. I'd agree with that. Like, we just covered Catherine Rednall playing in the open singles there at Potters and definitely held their own. So I don't see it being a sport that definitely needs to be segregated by the genders anymore. It's cool to see that that's how they run it there. As Daryl did say, Bill was in the chat. I asked him, see if we could get the name of the Facebook group if you want to follow the Canadian short mat bowlers while they're over there. Doesn't appear to have the name there yet, but apparently they have a Twitter and Facebook group. So if you look that up on Facebook, I'm sure you'd be able to find Canadian Short Mat Bowls Association or team, some sort of thing like that. There will be updates, I'm sure, when they do go over there. So that's good luck to them. Hope they do well.
I believe I have found it. Could be wrong, but there is one called the Canadian Short Mat Bowls Group. I do not know if that's the updated one or not, but there was posts on it as early as yesterday. So that may be the one he's talking about. If people are looking for it, it is called the Canadian Short Mat Bowls Group, is what the group is called.
Yeah, I've been looking. I've been trying to check back on their website, and their Twitter account just mentioned that I guess possibly they've been locked out of their account or don't have access to the website, so it hasn't been updated probably in a couple of years.
Yeah, that is the correct one.
Yeah, so I think they're rebuilding the site and having a new one put up, which is good news. Because as we always say, like I wanna see a decent website, and most of the lawn bowls websites are pretty trash. So it'll be good to see one when it comes out.
Yeah, Daryl the Troll is always there looking for his bad websites.
Daryl's talking about good websites, even though he canceled our website like a month and a half ago, so we don't even have one anymore.
What a guy.
We will. Eventually, we will.
I guess if we're staying on the topic, short mat, like if for some of the people listening here, short mat is not the same as lawn bowls if you're not familiar with what it is. So short mat is, I'd say, kind of the ugly stepchild in some people's eyes of lawn bowls, because it's played on a shorter little mat with a block of wood in the middle that sort of prevents you being able to just rip it up the middle, because I think the length of the carpets, they can vary, but they're usually only about 13 meters type of a thing. So it's pretty short, and if you don't have the block in the middle, obviously pretty easy to throw a drive and hit whatever you're throwing at if you only have to have it travel 13 meters. So it's a little bit of a different game. It's very much a game you can play anywhere, though, and that's why you kind of see there's a lot of countries that participate in the short mat worlds, because really you just have to buy this carpet, a few $100s, and then as long as you have a flat gym floor, where I play at the Cathedral Short Mat Club in Regina, we just literally use our lawn bowls clubhouse floor, and you just roll up the carpet and you throw the bowl, and it gets the job done. So if you live somewhere where you have access to a flat floor and you want to give it a try, you can definitely hit up pretty much any bowls provider. They do sell short mat equipment, and it's a pretty inexpensive sport to really get started in on.
Excuse my ignorance to short mat, but at like I don't know if you guys know either, but at like the world championship or at even like the national level, do they use lawn bowls or do they use their own, like, do they have a short mat bowl or how does that work?
They use lawn bowls. So
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's the same sport. Like you still use the lawn bowl. Debatably, you can use the same delivery, although
Yeah.
I don't recommend it. Like when I've played, I totally alternate or totally change my delivery when I'm playing short mat. But that's just how it is. You play with a bowl. You're gonna probably want to, depending on the slant of the floor you're playing on, obviously will affect what type of bias you're going to want to play with. So that's a little bit of a complicating factor depending on the place you're playing in. But I quite enjoy it, and I know across Canada there's quite a few clubs popping up. Like I know there's quite a few in BC and Saskatchewan. We have quite a large contingent. Essentially, all the major cities have one, and then I know obviously Ontario has a pretty good size group of it too. So I think it's a sport that's sort of on the rise or growing a little bit because, as I was saying, it is pretty inexpensive to sort of get what a club started and really just still keep enjoying playing a sport that's very similar to bowls year round.
We'll get you out there, Luke, and I'll show you what it's like.
I have played before.
Okay.
I only asked that question because like when I played it was with a lawn bowl and I didn't know if that's just because what we had or what it is. It's been years, but years ago I did play.
I will say it is a little intimidating when you bring your bowls and then for the first time you see what the short mat is and you're like, how am I going to keep my bowl on the carpet? Like you think it's just going to fly off the edge and whatever because you're so used to outdoor.
Actually, when I was practicing to go to the youth championships, our club had 3 short mat carpets, and I actually just put them together and used them as a giant, like kind of like a giant surface, so I could at least roll bowls on them.
Yeah, that's actually what the Cathedral short mat does. If we don't have our full roster there and we can play with essentially less than 8 people, we push the 2 together and then have one big mat. But yeah, short mat, it's a bit of a humbling game. Sort of what Daryl's saying, to keep your bowl on the mat is a challenge at points because sometimes you need to draw wide so you lose it on the outside, or you definitely will hit the block in the middle of the rink multiple times. So it's a familiar sound of a person just being a little bit too inside, or if you're trying to play sort of through weight type of thing, it changes the game. It's fun though. I actually quite enjoy it because it's a lot different strategy wise, where you can't really throw big weight at pretty much any of the heads, and a lot of it's very like touch drawing and very much like making those very nice touch shots. In the chat, Bill is also saying the one thing we missed: heavier jack. So they play with the indoor jack when they play short mat. So that's the only major difference, is obviously a heavier jack.
Mike, you did say a couple things about this Cathedral Lawn Bowling Club. That sounds like they got some pretty interesting stuff going on. Did you want to touch on that quickly?
Yeah, no, we wanted to touch on that. So I am a member of the Cathedral Short Mat Club. That's the Regina Lawn Bowling Club's short mat bowling club. So every Friday they essentially host a short mat at the clubhouse, the Regina Lawn Bowling Club. Last year they hosted or live streamed, I guess, a tournament around this time, and they're doing that again this year. So we figured we would sort of hype up or let you know that they're having that event. It's not this week coming up, it'd be the next Friday. So I'd have to look at a calendar, but February the 17th. So they're having the tournament on February the 17th, so that you'll be able to check me out, I guess. So if you tune into the Cathedral, or it's at the Regina Lawn Bowling Club's YouTube channel, you'd be able to check us out playing. I believe there's 8 teams playing in the event.
You gonna get that bread?
I hope to get that bread, definitely. They just came out the other day. They sent us out an email of who our teammates are and everything. So it'll be an exciting event to play in. You'll probably hear me commentating because essentially the way they run it is the team that's not playing jumps in on the commentary box. So
Yes.
Definitely expect to hear me commentating at some point during that event too. But we wanted to definitely just draw attention to it. So if anyone is interested, seeing either what short mat bowls is and sort of see what we're doing in Regina, definitely check it out on the 17th.
Right on.
Good stuff. I'll be in there chirping.
I'll
Yeah,
be
you'll-
tripping.
You both will probably just only tune in for my games, and then every time I throw a trash bowl, just blow the place up and make fun of it.
I guess like the real question I have for you, Mike, does a technically flawed delivery like give you more of an advantage or more of a disadvantage in short mat?
It's more of an advantage, definitely.
Like, do you just like huck it over the block?
It bounces over it sometimes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
nice,
sometimes
nice.
on my second bounce, I actually clear the block. So
That'd be amazing. That'd actually be hilarious. But
considering it's like 6 or 7 meters away from you, you would have to really
and it's
give
like
it a
rock hard.
you would have to really huck your bowl, I think, to clear that on a bounce. But thanks, Luke. Thanks for signaling me out. Like
I'm just asking questions. That's all I'm here to do.
okay. Okay, well, those are our main topics, but we sort of let the show off with one of our other things we wanted to cover. So we hit 3,000 subscribers as of yesterday, I believe it was. So we were unbelievably hyped up to hear that. So
We look
Luke,
at, don't we?
yeah, Luke already started out the show, I think, thanking everyone, but I'm just going to jump in and say thanks again. We really do appreciate all the support. 2 years ago, we were struggling to even hit 1,000.
Yeah.
And I think like we were just banging our heads against the wall trying to get to 1,000, and we got there, and we've kind of set goals since then, and we've kept achieving and even surpassing them a little bit.
Well, so, I mean, don't correct me if I'm wrong, but our goal was to hit 2,000 by December 31st, and on February 5th, we're at 3,000. So, I mean, if that explains how good it's going, then things are going quite well.
Yeah, no, like that. You're saying exactly what I would say. It is we've been setting goals, and the support we've been getting is absolutely terrific. So we really do appreciate it. We have lots of new stuff planned, and sort of any of the money we are generating through any of your support, either as Luke talked about the merchandise, if you're wanting to get yourself any sort of clothing, any support you do give us, we put it back into the podcast, and it's going to hopefully keep growing as we go here, because we have lots of streaming equipment we've purchased, and we hope to be streaming some stuff this summer and sort of everything like that, because like obviously majority of our time on the air has been pandemic times, right? So we haven't really had much opportunity to have a normal summer and go about our lives where we can stream, do the things we want to do. So I think this summer maybe expect some of that coming forward.
Oh, and I guess in the chat, Cameron just got himself a brand new hat, and he says there's free shipping for the next 4 days. So you hear that, people? You got 4 days to save, like, I don't know how many dollars, but free shipping.
We do try to put out some teasers on some of the sales and free shipping kind of stuff that we do have. So keep an eye on the store. There's little sales going on all the time. So awesome. Free shipping for the next 4 days. Cam, you're going to look good in that hat, buddy.
And if you guys don't like any of the current shirts that are out there, we always have new stuff, new logos and stuff kind of on the go. So just keep your eye popped open. If you look over it once and don't see something you like, don't quite give up on it yet. Things are coming all the time. So keep that in mind as well.
Yeah, like with 3,000, we got new goals, new things that we're dreaming up. So like Daryl and me have some ideas for merch that I think is probably going to be coming out fairly quick. Then we've also talked about it, I think, multiple times on the show. Daryl's going to be bringing back Coach's Corner. We're also going to be bringing back different types of videos, kind of more like Daryl's technical difficulties type things, where we're going to get more into maybe drills, things like that. So definitely expect a lot more content from us as time progresses here, because we are dedicated to this channel, and all your support really does help us keep pushing things forward.
100%.
I don't think I could have said it better myself.
Alrighty, boys. Anything else we want to do before we wrap today?
No, I think I'm good. Good plugs on everything. I'm looking forward to what's going to happen in the near future. And if I survive this cold, I'll definitely be putting the stuff out. I've been dragging my heels on everything the last 2 weeks because I've been on death's door with this thing. So
yeah. I think you should keep the cold. You sound sexy, Daryl.
Thank you. Yeah.
Dreamboat
All right.
Daryl.
Alrighty, well, I guess if we're done, I guess we shut her down. Thanks to the boys, Mike and Daryl, for always holding it down for me, even when I'm not here. So thanks for that. Don't forget, guys, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button down below. The little thumbs up gives you notifications every time we're live. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, everywhere we got things going on. If you missed any part of the show, it'll be posted on YouTube almost instantly after the show, and it'll be live on all major podcast platforms in a few days. We thank all you guys again. Don't forget about your merch and your subscription down below. Thanks for 3,000. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, I hope all your shots are touchers.